How to become a piping design engineer in 2025. This is what we are going to discuss in this video. Let me try to share as many information as possible because I want to share an actual information that is really going to work in your real life. Because there are candidates who are stepping out of college this year. There are candidates who stepped out last year, and there are also candidates with 3 to 4 years of experience still trying to find a place in piping design engineering. They are really in need of actual information that will help them to become piping design engineers. So I want to have a good video which will detail them to provide the process to become a piping design engineer. So let me dedicate this video for those who are really in need of those true informations. Without wasting your time, let's get started. Before getting into the video, let me tell you one small thing. This video is going to be a little bit in detail. So I kindly request every one of you to sit tightly and watch this video without skipping till the end. At first, let's understand what is piping design engineering is about. Piping design engineering is a profession that designs the piping infrastructure for industries such as oil and gas, petrochemicals, chemical plants and power plants, and FMCG sectors and pharmaceutical sectors, and various industries are where pipings are used basically. But predominantly, piping design has a higher and upper role in critical industries such as oil and gas, petrochemicals and chemical industries where the services are toxic and hazardous. So it is important to concentrate on the safety and design integrity to safeguard and to run the plant without any accidents. So these industries has a more role for piping design engineering. But the role of piping design engineering, it's not only producing the drawings. This is a dynamic role. It starts from the multiple discussion with the clients about the scope and preparation of a 3D model, preparation of the plot plan, preparation of 2D drawing, layouting, isometrics, and preparation of MTO and data sheet and specifications, and doing multiple internal coordinations and clarifications, and there will be lots of reviews. This is a dynamic role that starts at the very beginning of the project and it runs up to the construction. So this is what piping design engineering is all about. Basically, they ensure the safety of the piping design for all these industries. Now let's talk about the qualifications required to become a piping design engineer. In general, mechanical engineers are the most preferred candidates for piping design. However, civil and chemical also has been preferred by some of the companies. But in predominantly as a large scale, if you look at it, most of the companies, they request the candidates to come from the mechanical background. So I would strongly advise the mechanical engineers can choose a piping design. But however, being a civil and chemical engineers, if you are still interested in piping design, you with enough qualifications of the piping design knowledge, you can still become a piping design engineer, but provided there will be fewer opportunities. So that is the only drawback from for the candidates who are from civil and chemical. Otherwise, absolutely you have an equivalent opportunity in the industries. Now let's go to the tools. Tools are known as softwares which are used in piping design industries. There are two categories of softwares. One is a 2D softwares and second set is a 3D softwares. In 2D softwares, in general, most of the industries uses AutoCAD 2D softwares and MicroStation 2D softwares, of which AutoCAD is the predominantly used software among the industries across the world, I would say. But MicroStation is also used in many of the industries. So if you are aware about both softwares, it will help you to get your CV filtered during the interview, for the interview. Now let's go to the second category, which is the 3D software. In 3D, though we have lots of 3D softwares in piping design, but industries predominantly using only two softwares. One is E3D, which is the upgraded version of PDMS, and second one is the SP3D, which is again the upgraded version of PDS. So if you are aware the E3D software and SP3D softwares, you will increase the opportunity of getting your CV filtered for the interviews. But however, E3D and SP3D has equal opportunities in the industries. Apart from E3D and SP3D, there are also many other softwares are used. Even AutoCAD 3Ds are used, CADWorks are used, AutoPlans are used, and there are lots of various other 3D plan softwares also there. However, in general, most of the industries uses E3D and SP3D because of the efficiency of the software in terms of producing the reliable deliverables such as drawings and outputs without the major errors, or I would say very less errors. So that is what the preferred softwares in the industries. Now let's discuss about one of the most important thing to be learned as a piping design engineer, which is the technical skills required for any piping design engineer. First, let me tell you what are the critical technical skills that are really required for any piping design engineer to be aware about. Then I will list you the minimum critical design skills which is required for a beginners. So if you are a candidate who are somewhere lesser than 5 years of experience, then you should focus on these critical skills which are required for the beginners, because in general the industries they classify the candidates who are less than 3 to 5 years of experience are a junior engineer. So I would strongly believe that if you have these 8 critical skills, then you will be able to get through the interview and will be able to work better than those who do not have this knowledge. But however, let me list out all the critical design skills which are required for this in particular role, which is known as a piping design role. There are 20 items. Let me start with the first one. First, you must understand the overview of piping design, how piping design entirely works, what is the intent of the piping design, why do you do piping design, what is the significance of doing this design. So you should have a strong idea about what is this piping design is about. Second, you must know the minimum inputs required in order to start your piping design, because being a piping design engineer, you cannot start everything on your own. You will have to get some inputs from other disciplines as well. There are process, electrical, CNA and safety. So you need to know what are the minimum inputs that you need to have in order to start your activity. That is very important. And third thing is that you must know what is P&ID, and you should be efficiently able to read the P&ID without any flaw, because only if you understand the P&ID you will be able to design the piping design layouts or whatever be it. If you do not understand the P&ID, it's impossible for you to design the piping at all. Next is you must have a strong knowledge about pipes and fittings details. When I say pipes fitting details, you should know the dimensions, international standards and everything about the pipes and fitting. There are various types available. You should know everything about the pipes and fitting details. And the next thing is that you should know about pipe spec. Pipe spec is a specification which lists out the materials to be used for a particular services. It's a document that will list you what are the items that you're supposed to use in a particular line. You cannot use the different spec for any other services. Basically, every line will have every spec. So you must be familiarized in reading this spec. So that is very important. So focus on pipe spec also. The next thing is that you should truly have a good knowledge about pipe routing, because pipe routing is one of the major activity in piping design engineers, because most of your time goes in pipe routing only. I would say almost 60% of the piping design is about pipe routing finalization. So that's very important. Next is pipe supports. Pipe supports and pipe routing both are connected to each other. So you should strongly have this idea about pipe routing and pipe support. If you are willing to learn about P&ID and routing and supports, you can also refer my website, which is a Pymedaca, and you can go to the course tab. You will find a valuable 3 course that will really help you in order to efficiently work in a real project. Because the intent of my course is to give you a skill that will help you in order to efficiently work in the real project. That is what. So I have made this course in such a way that you will be able to observe the information that can be used directly in your job. So how you make a decision, on what basis you will make a decision, what are the parameters that you have to choose, and in different scenarios how you handle this decision making in order to finalize your design. So all these things are discussed actually. But remember, these are skill based course. These are not a general course. In general course, generally people will discuss about n number of things, but they will only cover the basics. But these are in-depth course which are only focused on one particular area. For example, P&ID, supports and routing, they focus only on the respective areas. You can go through the details in my websites. that will help you to understand what are the content of this particular course, so that you will come to know what you're going to learning. So the next thing you have to aware is about international codes and standards, which is predominantly important because most of the informations are taken from this international codes and standards. So that is the driving factor for piping design. Basically, these are created to ensure the safety of the plant, safety of the piping design, safety of the operators who are working in the plant. So you must aware about the international codes and standards. Next thing is the plot plan, and next one is piping materials, and next is piping layouts, and next is piping isometrics. Then you have piping MTO, which is one of the critical documents to be delivered in the piping design projects. Next, you must aware about the design work procedure. I'll tell you why it is important. Because unless you do not know about the work procedure, you will never come to know where to start and where to end. Because the work procedure is something that you start the A, then go to B, then go to C, then go to D, then go to E. It's a process of completing one activity after other in order to complete the project. If you do not know the cycle, you will really have no idea about where to start and where to end. So it is really important to understand design work procedure. Next is data sheet preparations. In every piping design engineering projects, you need to develop multiple data sheets for valves, specialty items, filters, strainers, many things will be there. So you should know what is data sheet and how to prepare data sheet. That is important. And the next one is interdisciplinary coordination, which is how to coordinate with the different disciplines. What is the form of communications? What are the inputs that you have to share? What are the inputs that you have to receive from them? All these things you must aware about it. Only then you will be able to work efficiently in the work, because if you do not know how to do this one, and then it's really going to halt your work. So that's very important. Next is types of equipments used in process plants, and next you have to know what a specification writing is about. Specification writing is something, I would say, if you're going to purchase some equipments or anything, then you have to write the specifications, and that will go to the vendor, and vendor will supply the components. So you should know how to write the specification, because there are some standards, there are some methods, there are some requirements to be addressed in the documents. Only then the vendor will supply. If you miss it, then it will cause a fatality, or it will cause a disastrous accidents. So it's better to know about it. Only then you will be able to buy the right product. That is important. If you buy a wrong product, then you are going to increase the chances of accident. The next thing you should aware about the pipe stress, and next thing you should aware about the major project deliverables, because if you are working in any project, you should know what are the deliverables that you have to deliver, right? If you do not know the deliverables to be delivered, then you will get a backfire from the client. So it's important to understand what are the major deliverables that you have to deliver in every project. So these are the general requirements. I guess I have almost covered everything actually. So there are 20 requirements I just have addressed for any piping design engineer to know about it. Now let me tell you something. From the 20 technical skills which I have just listed, you just only need to know only 8 skills, which are considered to be the most critical design skills required for any piping design engineers. So if you are trying to become a piping design engineer, then you must know at least the 8 skills. If you are going to learn about the other skills, definitely that will really going to add a lot of values in terms of filtering your CV. But as a minimum, you should know at least 8 skills, which I am just going to highlight it now. The first one is P&ID reading, very important. Second is pipe fittings and details, very important. Third is pipe spec, very important. Then pipe routing, very, very important. Then pipe supports, then piping layout, then piping isometrics, and piping MTO. These are the 8 skills which you have to know as a must in order to become a piping design engineer as a beginner. Now let's discuss about one of the most important things, certifications required in piping design. In general, I'm always against certifications, because having a certification doesn't mean that you can deliver the deliverable. You need to have a skill in order to deliver. So certifications will work only for the beginners, because beginners should say that they know something about piping actually. In order to show the interviewer that they know something, they need to have a certification, but do not invest the huge amount for getting the certification, because I know there are institutes that will charge you 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 3 lakh, but they will not teach you what is actually needed in the actual project, they will talk about a lot of theories, which is actually you're not going to use those things in the real project. You need to know how to deliver in the real project. That is important. So I would strongly advise, if you are going for a certification, do not go for certification which are not more than 25,000. In 25,000, make sure that you understand the basic piping design engineering and take this certification only for the sake of highlighting in your CV as a beginner. If you are 2 to 3 years and know the skills, you don't require a certification. Let me tell you, no companies will look at your CV for the certification. That is the reality. That is how the CVs are filtered. So please take this in record. Now let's go to one of the most critical stage, which is CV preparation. CV preparation is one of the most important activity that you have to do irrespective of any profession. But being in piping as a beginner, make sure that your CV is not more than 2 pages. And if you are experienced more than 3 years, then you can go for 3 pages as a maximum, I would say actually. But make sure that as long as that your experience is less than 5 years, I would strongly recommend to go only with the 2 page. Don't go beyond that. But if you have a lot of skills, a lot of knowledge, then you can go for the 3 page as a maximum. And also, let me summarize what are the important things that you have to highlight, because I could see that a lot of candidates mention unnecessary things in the CV. Please take out everything which is unnecessary and which is not relevant for your applications or not relevant for the particular role that you are applying. Always make sure that you have to have a specific CV for the role that you are going to apply. Do not prepare one CV and apply for everything. Go through the job requirements and accordingly you change the CV and submit it. That is very important. However, let me just tell you the critical things that you have to capture in the CV in order wise. The first thing, your CV should have a short summary about your intention and your objective. You can also highlight why do you like piping design, what is your interest, and why do you want to become a piping design engineer in very short, and what is your future goal, like you want to become a piping design engineer in order to handle big projects, in order to support the industries to deliver the safe piping design, something like that. You can make it in a very short summary. Don't write more than 3 lines, fine. Now then you have to mention your education, then you highlight your tools. Especially in tools, you list out the softwares that you have learned, and moreover in softwares you need to mention how many hours that you have spent. I know, being a beginner, it's not possible for you to spend more hours, but you can still make it right from your learning, and also you can request the institutes to get more practice hours. So you can mention this much of hours that you have practiced in the CV. This will add a lot of value for the interviewers to understand about that your intention to become a piping design engineer and the efforts that you have already made. So mention the amount of hours that you have practiced in a particular software. Then you mention your technical skills, whatever skills that we have discussed. Of the 20, you focus on the 80. If you are also interested to learn about the other skills also, you learn and ensure whatever that you have learned only indicated in the CV. Just don't put everything, because during the interview they will go through these requirements, and if they would ask questions, you must be in a position to answer. So ensure the list of skills that you are only aware you have mentioned in the CV. So that's very important. The next thing is that mention the courses that you have learned. It could be a live course, it could be an online course, it could be any other course that you have learned through Udemy or whatever it is. A list of course, it could be of pipe fittings or whatever course. So you list the courses that you have completed. So that is very important. Next thing is self-study. This is far more important than anything. Most of the candidates don't do it. That is why I'm insisting them to do it, because this will tell you that your intention and your courage and your determination in order to become what you want to become. Self-study. You can highlight the books that you have read, chapters that you have read, articles that you have read, the websites that you are referring, or also you can mention the standards, international standards that you have self-studied. See, in a self-studies you will make a lot of mistakes, but the only intention is that whether you have done a self-study or not, that is the intent over here. So if a candidate is having this information, that will really help the interviewer to understand. But please be truthful. Do not put something for the namesake. That is very important. And then you can mention your experience, and then you can finish the CV with your personal details. So this is the critical component. I would strongly say that do not mention anything more than what I have said, because which is not going to really help the interviewer to finalize your CV. Make sure that your CV is short and brief, and make sure that it is relevant for the particular role. So that is what I wanted to tell you. Now let's go to the next one, is that job application. So once your CV is prepared, then you're going for the job application. Generally, I would strongly recommend to refer multiple portals. There are lots of job portals are available. You can use Google, Naukri, Indeed, whatever be it, but use multiple portal. Even LinkedIn is also available. So keep on referring to these portals so that you will aware about the different jobs, and you will come to know what are the jobs that you can apply. Second thing is that apply only for the jobs that your experience is actually meeting. Being a beginner, do not apply for 5 years of experience. Your CV will be filtered, and don't sit in desperations about not getting selected. Okay, so go through multiple sites. You will get fewer opportunities only, but still if your CV is fantastic, then you will get selected. But the most important thing is that you must be the first person to apply this job. So in order to apply a job at first, then you have to go through these websites regularly, spend daily time. Instead of wasting time in Facebook or Instagram, you can spend a lot of this time in going through the job portal. So this will give a lot of advantage of understanding about the job requirements, from which companies the job post is regularly coming on. So you can do all these things. Okay, so that is very important. Next thing is that make sure that you apply only for the relevant jobs where it calls for the piping design. Just don't go with the name of the company. Make sure that your role is also relevant. You know why? Because after getting into a job, and if you find that your role is not the relevant role as per your expectation, you cannot come out. So you have already wasted some time, right from preparations and right from interview and joining. So this is not going to come back, right? Apply only for the relevant jobs. Okay, not only with respect to the experience, also with respect to the company that you're applying. There are companies don't work in oil and gas, petrochemicals, and they would do some consultancy services, which is not going to add a lot of value to it. So take time, don't hurry, don't be in a hurry to get a job, but be a person, intellectually select the companies and intellectually go through the requirements of the job and then apply. That will give a lot of value in terms of getting into the right job. So that is more important. Now let's go to the interview part, because interview part is the major part that you have to work on, because if you don't work properly for the interview, you will not get selected. So let me just insist couple of things that you have to focus on the interviews, because the interviews are a different dynamic thing that will vary from person to person. A same interviewer can have a different type of interviews with different candidates. So it's not possible for you to really have a pattern for an interview, but few things you can correct from your side. That is what I would like to say. Make sure that you prepare tell about yourself very clearly. Here you can highlight your willingness to become a piping design engineer, your willingness to learn the industries that you love, and if you have an experience, you highlight that experience, and what you have learned, what are you capable of. Like if you're really good in 2D, 3D, you highlight it. If you're really good in MTO, you highlight it. But try to say something which you have already experienced. Do not put unnecessary words and don't get into trouble. So that's one of my advice. So try to work on tell about yourself. That's one thing. Then only answer appropriately after listening to the questions, because there are candidates who don't listen the questions, and so they may not be able to answer appropriately. So answering appropriately is very, very important. If you don't understand the question, ask once or twice, that's okay, because interviewers are also a common man like you and me, right? So but you have to be a sensible person to listen properly and answer accordingly. This is second thing. Third is, don't argue during the interview. If you're unaware about something, don't say that this is what right and this is what wrong is about. Please admit that you do not know. So that is very important. So you can really show your open-mindedness to the interviewer. So that's very important. Then be a genuine person during the interview. If you do not know something, say you do not know. If you know, yes. If you only aware about the basic thing, you just tell them that I know only the basic idea of this, but I don't have real working experience. I'm interested to learn in the real working experience to improve my knowledge. You can put like that. try to become being a genuine person is very, very important. Okay. Then finally, whatever be it, whatever the condition of the interview is, at the end of the interview, request the interviewer to give you a couple of seconds to conclude the interview. Okay. Conclusion in the sense, you don't have to summarize what happened in the interview. You just have to tell them that you believe that you performed well. If you have really performed, I'm saying that. So if you are not performed well, you can tell them that I tried to answer as much as possible from whatever knowledge that I have gained, but there are certain areas that I'm aware that I'm not able to answer properly, by which I would like to definitely improve after getting into the job. I'm a person who is willing to learn. In order to learn, I will put more efforts. It doesn't mean what cost me. So I will definitely be a candidate who will really try to improve myself every day in order to support the project, support the company. Likewise, you can put your conclusion at the end. So this will give you some sort of a positive impact to the interviewer. So that is very important. So now we have gone through the major stages of the progress of how to become, what are the things to learn, how to prepare CV, everything. But now one thing we have not seen is that how to plan all these things. So that's very important. Unless you don't plan it, then you may not be able to execute it. So let me give you one simple idea about how to plan this. You plan it for a year. Okay, you have to make a plan for a year. The year that consists of 12 months. Let me give you the highlight of your planning. So if you are comfortable in reducing the months, definitely you can do it. And if you are uncomfortable with 12 months, you can increase. But planning is very important, because if you don't plan, you won't set any timeline for yourself. Setting a timeline and running after the timeline, it will improve your skills and also will make you a better focused person in order to become what you want actually. So let me just tell you, the one important thing that I wanted to tell you before making a plan is that ensure that you dedicate 3 to 5 years of study time, either in a software, I mean it could be your working in a software or piping study. Make sure 3 to 5 hours per day as a beginner. Only then you will be able to meet the industry requirements, because that's very important. So now let me just give you an example of how to plan. The first couple of months, I would say for the first 2 months, you can do some certifications, piping design courses. That will give you an idea about what is piping design, what are the critical things that you have to learn, how piping design works, what are the relations between different components in piping, different deliverables, what is projects, all these things it will give you an idea about when you do a certifications. Fine. And you may have to do a couple of certifications, if necessary more than 2 or 3. There are short courses available in Udemy. You can take up my course even actually. So there are multiple certifications that you have to do in order to understand. So don't limit only with one certification. One certification I would strongly say you can limit, because only for the sake of getting the certificate. But in order to improve your knowledge, you have to do multiple certifications. So that's very important, because there is no other way in order to improve it actually. Fine. Then from the 3rd to 4th month onwards, you can learn softwares. The reason is that once you do the certifications of piping design and then you move to the software, you will be able to understand what you can do with the software. If you do in the vice versa, then you may not be able to understand many things. Again, it will take some time for you to realize where to link actually. So do the certification first, then go for software learning. So the 3rd to 4th month, you can complete the software learnings. It could be of 2D or 3D, whatever it is. Now, from the 5th month to 6th month, you work on your technical skills. Technical skills, which we have already listed. From the 20, focus on the 8 and plus whatever possible from your side, you can put it. That will add a lot of value in your CV. Next, the 7th month, you have to analyze the job market. You have to go through the portals, understand the requirements of different companies. What are the minimum criteria are being asked for different roles for the beginners and experience. You go through this role, try to improve whether these skills are not with you or not. So you will be able to understand the minimum industrial requirements for that particular experience. That's very important. Now, the 8th month, prepare your CV. Make your CV is so strong and technically sound, and start applying for job. So once you prepare CV, take time to prepare. Don't hurry up. I'm saying don't hurry up. You have to have a good CV. If you send a bad CV to the right job, then your CV will not be selected. So it's really important to spend a lot of time. Presumably, I would strongly say more than 4 weeks so that you can streamline your CV in such a way it is technically sound for the filtrations during the interview process. That's very important. And from the 9th month to 10th month, you can try to improve any particular area and try to take in-depth knowledge about the particular area. For example, if you're focusing on any piping layout, try to observe more about the piping layout. Try to focus on multiple areas in piping layout. And if you wanted to know about piping spec, go through it full time. And piping routing, piping support, how it works. Try to improve the in-depth knowledge. This is on the 9th to 10th month. So systematically you are progressing. And for the final 10th month to 12th month, I don't want you to give up. Don't give up is the message for the 10th month to 12th month. You know why? Because even after 9 months, like there are candidates who give up their preparations because they don't get enough the interview calls or something. Don't give up. Though it will take time, you will get into the right job. So don't give up is the last message from me actually. So you have to keep on working. Every day you put your efforts, that will really going to add a lot of value in order for you to improve your knowledge in that particular field. And also it will help you to clear the interviews. More knowledge is the only tool that you need in order to clear the interviews. So once you clear the interviews, then you will get into a job, then you will become a piping design engineer. This is the process of becoming a piping design engineer. I strongly believe that this video will really help you to understand the process of becoming the piping design engineer. I will meet you in another fantastic video. Until then, bye from Subhash Chandra.